Heart sparks.
Heart sparks.
Heart sparks.
Heart sparks.
Heart sparks.
Heart sparks.
We're very glad this morning to have with us as our very, very special guest, Ruth Davis, who for the last 10 years has been exploring those things that hold us back from achieving our dreams, why we stay in situations feeling unfulfilled and unsatisfied, but we still stay there, stay stuck. But most importantly, when we live from our hearts, we're much, much happier. And I'm very glad she's here, and she has an interesting story. I told her I was really kind of fascinated by the idea that she is traveling around the country with her dog Cody in her 24-foot motorhome. And she lives there full time, and wherever Spirit takes her, that's where she goes. She is a life coach, a speaker, a trainer, just open to Spirit. And so let's say Ruth Davis.
Ruth Davis.
Ruth Davis. Come on down.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. And for every person who chose to show up today, because it's easy to stay home sometimes. It's comfortable, it's cool. And when we make a choice to do something different, amazing things always happen, always. About 10 years ago, I was like a lot of people. I went to work, I took care of everybody else in my life, and 3 o'clock my day ended, I came home, I got stoned, and I sat in front of the television. I did a lot of serving other people and had no idea how to serve myself. Why is this funny?
Somebody said sounds good.
And it was good, but then I went to a party, and instead of saying, what do you do for a living, because I knew the answer to that, they said, what are you passionate about? And I looked at her and I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. I really didn't. I had my work, I had my dogs, I went on vacations, but I didn't understand passion. What is that? And that just freaked me out, because shouldn't you know what you love to do by the time you're in your 40s or 50s? Shouldn't you know? So then I felt really terrible. And so I got stoned, you know, it's like, television. I'm passionate about television. Well, I could go on like that for years, but then the universe loves to kick you in the butt when you really need it. When you're not paying attention to the little signs, eventually you get some big ones. And I had to have emergency open heart surgery because I had a benign tumor in my aorta. I'm sorry, atrium. Not aorta, atrium. Pretty big wake-up call. Literally, my heart was blocked. And so when I had the tumor removed, I had more blood flow, and I had a lot of opportunity to say, okay, what is this passion thing? I had no idea. And in these 10 years, I've worked with clients and mostly worked with myself, trying to figure out, not in my head, because when we think in our heads, we always get the same answers. And they're not usually the truth. It's everybody else's truth, right? So how do we move from, okay, this is everything that I thought I knew, and none of it is real? And it came to me over the course of time that there are really 7 practices. And they're practices. It's not do one, perfect it, move on. It's these 7 practices seem to help me and others move from what am I supposed to be doing here to, oh, lead with my heart. And I know that your theme for the month is decision. Okay, decision is not easy. But it can be. Usually we're stuck in a decision because it's really not what we want, or we're not ready to take that specific step, or we don't even know why we're saying yes to this, or no to this, because no is a decision too. And when we're in that place of being stuck, the last thing to do is, well, let me hurry up and decide. I should just decide, because it probably isn't what you want. The first practice, and the practices are not in any order, but it helps to start with the first practice, which is grounding. That centering moment doesn't just happen on Sundays at 10:10. Every moment where you're, best thing to do, take a breath. To feel your feet on the ground, to know that I have no idea what's going on, but something bigger than me is supporting me. I have friends, I have community, I have spirit, I have my heart if I would just be quiet and listen. So grounding, practice number 1. When we start to ground, we're like a tree, solid in our roots, and we have a little more flexibility to move around. But if we're grounded, we're not going to fall over. Even in the height of, I'm going to stand here in front of these people and share, I have to do a lot of grounding to make sure that what's coming through me is not my ego. You know? Grounding. Number 1, if that's all you ever do, grounding, breathing, connecting with your physical body because your head works overtime. We know this. We need to live from the neck down. That's where our heart is. Second practice. Funny thing happens when we ground and get quiet. We start to hear lots of, you're no good, you can't do that, why are you sitting around breathing when you should be? You know what I'm talking about. The beauty about quieting and listening is not about, let me sit with my thoughts and try to turn them off. We can't do that. What I would invite you to do is take a walk in nature. Not right now, it's a little warm. But sit in front of a nice cool window and look outside at some kind of nature. Watch a bird. It gets us so out of our heads. It connects us with something bigger than ourselves. And it feels good. I'm all about what feels good. It might be scary, but I like to turn I turn fear into excitement. You know, it's the same feeling. Put a different word on it. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, I'm excited. So when we quiet ourselves, first we hear all that regular stuff that we're used to hearing that stops us from doing anything. And when we let that go, maybe spend some time in nature or napping or just watching the fire, suddenly you start to hear other things. Oh, I really like sitting. Oh, my back kind of hurts me. Oh, that bird reminds me of the time when I was 7 years old and blah, 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 blah. When we get to a place where we can really start to hear our own selves and not everything that we've ever been told, not told, taught, not taught, we get some good stuff going. And when we surround ourselves with people that share better messages, we start to believe them in that quiet space because we let go of all that shoulds, can'ts, won'ts, nevers, words that really don't serve us. Once we get quiet, what's next? 1, 2, 3. My favorite, exploring. Asking questions. Well, if I don't want that because that's what everybody's already told me, what else might I like? What did I love to do when I was a kid? When we are children, we are so ourselves. Even if we have horrible situations around us, we still have some kind of ability to tuck in, go inside and say, I feel good about myself when I do this. Or when I'm doing this, nothing in my world, it doesn't exist. I don't care what's happening out there. When I'm reading or pretending or playing make-believe or whatever it is that you loved to do as a kid, when that's happening, you're present, and life does happen in the present moment. I like to remind people that. When we're spending so much time worrying about the past, or worrying about the future, or regretting, we are not right here. Because usually right here in this moment, even if it's a bad moment, the bad part is really pretty small because, oh, but it's air conditioned and I can feel love, the chair's not so uncomfortable. Never mind that whatever is waiting for you later in your life, that's later, it's not now. In exploring, we get to ask all kinds of questions. And what I love about exploring, it's not about the answers. Okay? If you're looking for answers, you're in your head again. We come from a society where we're supposed to know. We're supposed to figure it out, do it, and be on to the next thing. It's not where I live. It's not where joy lives. Joy lives in, I don't know, let me savor how that might feel. If I could ask myself, imagine a perfect day, what would I be doing? Never mind, I could never afford that, or my husband won't do that with me, or whatever gets in the way, but exploring what it might feel like. You open yourself up to that, and the universe says, I'll meet you there. Right? Exploring. You know what happens after you start exploring? This comes out, and this comes out, and I don't want to do this. That becomes so clear to you because you've given yourself permission to really explore. Somebody's asked me to do this. I need to decide about this. I should say yes, because that's what nice people do. I really don't enjoy being around this person's energy, but I should. How else could I serve them without being in their presence? What a question. And then poke around in there. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. But if we only stick with, I have to go see this person, she drains me. I always feel horrible when I leave. That's what's going to happen every time. It doesn't mean not to help them. It means finding a way that feels really good here. So you can show up completely present, full of love, to serve them without getting sucked in to all the things that make you not want to do this thing. Am I making any sense here?
Yes, you are.
Oh, yes.
Amen.
Oh, yes.
It's so easy to fall into what we should do. If you remove the word should from your life, your shoulders, because the word should is in your shoulders, you will feel lighter because you're not doing things because you should. You're doing things because you want to. Suddenly your shoulders are back, your heart is open, and you are like, how can I help you? You crazy person. How can I help you? And once you start exploring, there's a quote in the book. I did write a book. It's for sale over there afterwards. I'm supposed to say that. But there's a quote in the book by a poet, Rainer Maria Rilke. And he says, learn to love the questions so that eventually you begin to live the answers. It's not like the answer comes and then you live it. What's the question? Where should I go next? I don't know yet. And then something comes to me. Oh, I guess I'll go here next. It's a lot easier. It's a lot scarier to not know where I'm going next. But it's a great practice in trust and faith and checking in with myself. Is this where I want to go? Oh, that feels terrible. Terrible, like scary, good, terrible, or you really don't want to go there. And that's a difference because sometimes we react. I don't want to do that. Explore why. What's the resistance? Maybe you don't want to do that, but oh, I want to do that. It's not that far off from what you were thinking, but we get locked into that one way. So after exploring comes getting clear, because you start to see all these new options, possibilities. You can't do them all, but you need clarity to move forward. And when you start to get clear, an intention shows up. I want this because, and it can't come from here. It can't be because I will make money. You cannot sustain doing something and showing up for something solely because it's going to make you $1 million. If you don't have the passion behind that, the drive, the stability, and the desire, intention's not going to get you very far. So when you get clear and you have an intention, I'm going to do this. Well, suddenly, I can't do this because I'm still here in this relationship, or I can't do this because I'm still holding on to an old belief. So the next practice is letting go. It is a practice that I practice all the time, whether it's an old thought or a relationship that needs to be redefined. Sometimes I think visually, because I'm a visual person. Not everybody is. But I'll offer you this. We hold things. You know what you hold. And in your questioning, you'll learn more things. Oh, I didn't know I held on to that. I didn't know I still believed that, and I let that direct me in my actions. The things that you hold, if you could imagine setting them all down and then picking back up the things that you still want, you might hold them differently. Instead of clutching it to you like, oh my God, I'm going to lose this if I let it go. Oh, I can hold it in one hand now. Or, you know, there's really no room in my life for this or for that person or that relationship. It's not that you don't like that person anymore, but they're no longer supporting the new intention, the way that you're living from your heart. If they're always naysaying you, probably not going to help you move forward. It's one more thing that's, I'm stuck. It's that thing that we hold on to that no longer serves us. So by letting things go, we open up all this space. As humans, we try to fill that space really fast. But there's a garden in San Diego called the Flower Gardens. Every spring, filled, acres and acres of beautiful ranunculus. It's a special kind of flower. And pinks and purples and every color of the rainbow. And at the end of the season, they don't just let the plants die off. They pull out the roots of every single plant that was left. They fumigate. They completely let the soil rest for the season, creating space so that the soil can rejuvenate. And so when we let go of things, our desire, we think, well, I don't have that friend anymore. I better get a new friend really fast. It's just letting go of needing another person, letting go of whatever that is that you've let go of that you think you need to quickly fill, because something bigger, something better will come when we create that space. And when we have something new come in, the next step, the sixth step, is imagining. Oh my gosh, I could have this new relationship. What would that look like? What would it be? What would I have to do? So if I could imagine myself being with a new person or being in a new job, wow, what could it look like? And your imagination is a shortcut to the universe. It's a conversation ongoing. If you can visualize it, if you can pull out pictures, the universe loves to talk in pictures, images. Language is a little, we speak so many. With different accents, the universe can't always understand what you're saying. But if you can draw a picture, if you can pull out a picture, the universe says, I got it now. And by staying with that imagining, what else? How could I? All of a sudden, that's what I want. I've got my intention behind me. I've let go of the things that have been holding me back. I'm freaking out, so I better breathe again. Exactly. And listen in. Is this really what I want? Is it coming from here? Is it coming from here? The seventh step, taking action. Making the decision. Stepping forward. Stepping in. Opening up. Saying absolutely yes or absolutely no. Now that I've figured it out, I am so not doing that. Because you know what? Looked like that, but I flipped it over, turned it around, and look what I have now. I had no idea I was going to be traveling around in my motorhome. And it came to me one day, I could do that. Because I thought I couldn't be an author because I refuse to fly all over the country because I don't like flying. And I thought that's what authors do. I don't want to do that. Can't be an author. This is how we think, right? I've had my motorhome for 20 years. My own book tour at my own pace and sleep in my own bed every night.
Teach.
It's a constant coming back to this. Because when we live from our hearts, we're happier. What we're doing, even if we're doing something we don't really enjoy, if we're doing it from here, the why is why we're doing it. It doesn't really matter what it is, why we're doing it. Coming back to living from here, when you sit here and you have that centering moment, when you sit here and are reminded, oh yeah, life is good. It feels good. Don't just leave the room and leave that here. You have to take it with you. And so the book offers you these practices through stories with questions and answers. Not answers, questions, so that you can ask yourselves. Not to find answers, but to ask questions. Questions take us deeper out of our heads and into right here. I will invite you after. You don't have to buy a book, but I'll be signing them if you do. But next to the books, there's also a heart-shaped box filled with heart sparks. You can take one. You can ask a question first and then reach in. Maybe you'll get exactly what you need. Things work like that. Or just take one because they're pretty, or not. Or take one and put it back. It's there for you. It's a gift from my heart to yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am a primitive I must find. I'm just beginning in my hand, ending unplanned. Staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, let the sun illuminate the way that you cannot find reason for something in the distance. So close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions. Feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on yours. Just something once unspoken. Live life with our heart open today. Where you will begin. So let's just still understand. I break tradition. Sometimes I cry or outside the line. Yeah, living condition to not make mistakes, but I can't live that way. No, staring at the blank page before you, open up the dirty window, the sun illuminate the world that you cannot find reason for something in that distance. So close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions. Feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on yours. Just something words unspoken. Live your life with a heart open today. Where you will begin. Feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on yours. Just something words unspoken. Live your life with a heart open today. Where you will begin. So let's just still understand.
Yeah.
Staring at the blank page before you, all along the dirty window, the sun illuminates the ones that you cannot find reaching for something in the distance. So close you can almost taste it. Release your inhibitions. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on yours. Just something was unspoken. Your life with our heart open today. Where you will begin. The rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on yours. Just something was unspoken. Your life with our heart open today. Where you will begin. The rest is still unwritten.
Alright, take a breath. And as we release this breath, knowing that there is only one power and one presence in the universe, and that is God. And as each of us embodies the lesson, the message that we heard today, take it in, make it our own. We give thanks for the beautiful music that we made together today, knowing that that music came from our very being. We give thanks for the fellowship, the energy, for all who participated today. And this week as we go forward, we remember that if we only do one thing, that we ground, standing like a tree, that I can bend but I will not be broken, that I can ask those questions, I can explore. And as I live from those questions, it opens my heart, it sparks joy, sparks my imagination, because I can do this, I can do a little bit over there. I don't have to do that, because there is something else that is a possibility. Living from my heart is where I want to live. It's where I want to have my being. I let it flow. And I release all of those things, people, places, situations that no longer serve me. I just let them go. They've done their job, and I'm free to live my way and to live from my heart. And so it is.
So it is.